Day 5 of the Haggadah project is upon us. I'm not going to lie, I'm sick. It's been a bit of a rough day. I'm back in the thralls of despair a little bit, but I think it's mostly because I'm sick. Hopefully I'll get through it. There's ups and downs going on with it. But today I started focusing on layout and design. So it was very exciting in the beginning and then a bit overwhelming. But let's dive in and I'll show you. So I went in between GPT and Google Gemini, really, to be honest, to try the image generation without having to go out of my normal chats. And Google Gemini is an AI that I have less experience with than Claude or GPT, but it actually ended up providing me the best image that I wanted for the cover of my Haggadah. And this is the one I went with over here. Now, the prompt that I used to get that is this, and I got that prompt from GPT after some back and forth. Generate black and white line drawing for a coloring book of Moses parting the Red Sea. Moses is standing in the middle with arms raised and holding a staff. Big parted waves on both sides. Style is clean and simple, like a Lego or South Park characters. People are small and simplified behind him. Scene is centered and symmetrical, with bold outlines and no shading, perfect for kids' colors. So I'm really happy with this. This is a great coloring, and this can be a great cover for my Haggadah. I just want to show you. So what you see here are some of my failed attempts. And actually, when I relook at this one from GPT, I don't mind it. I'm going to save it for later, possibly. But go back to Time Snapper, and let's keep going. Now I'm working in Adobe Express for layout, and the main reason is because I have an account as part of my Adobe account. I use Adobe products all the time, so it's just a fast way, and they have a pretty big library of assets that I can use as well. So just it's here. So I grabbed that photo from Gemini, I laid it in, and I decided to change the title of the Haggadah to something more simple and short. Our Haggadah, just like I wasn't trying too hard to do the adventure stuff and things like that. Just very simple and clean. All right, boom, this is a decent layout. So I'm moving along, and the next thing is the checklist. So I'm starting to gather icons over here. You'll see I'm starting to gather different icons that represent my checklist of things, right? The no phones, the candles, all this stuff. And then there's some things that that there isn't in the library of Adobe Express. And for that, I'm going back to Gemini to create icons for me. So this is the matzah icon I got. This is the kippah or yarmulke icon that I got. I tried for Haggadah icon. I didn't like this one. I wanted something simpler. And then I also remembered that the kippah, although I liked it, it was not good because it was filled in. It needs to be kind of a color in style. So I asked for it to adjust, and it did a really good job. Just for icons, it's amazing. And then this is my Haggadah, what I ended up with, which is great. Just, icons are supposed to be symbols, very simple graphic design, and this is fantastic. Look for a family one, and then a Seder plate. I asked it to generate. I tried a few iterations. Now, keep in mind, it takes a while for the AI to generate images. So I was getting impatient. I wanted kind of a very simple Haggadah plate. A Seder plate icon. Couldn't really get it to work, and so I just drew one here, as you'll see, with the base symbols that are provided in Adobe Express. And then just kind of ordered them in order. A title to say that this is a checklist, and then I decided to put it on a clipboard. It looks so fast and easy here. It took a while, but here we go. I spaced it out, and that's kind of where I'm at with this checklist, which I'm pretty happy with. So the morning was easy. I'm like, not easy, but it seemed like it's going to be going well. But that's before some real text is entering and some real problems are arising. I have a printer here in the office, so I decided to try and see if things are too big, too small. It's hard to tell when you're on the screen. I printed it out, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's a really nice checklist that the kids can have. So that part went swimmingly, but the trouble started after. So yeah, this is my print dialogue. Printed it out, texting going on. And I'm going on to the next thing, which was, okay, the 15 steps. I figured the 15 steps would be next because that's going to be a detachable thing. That's going to be our treasure, what I call the treasure hunt. And very similar, I'm gathering icons, looking for, Karpas I couldn't find. So I had AI generated, although I ended up replacing that one. But this is not bad. Dipping parsley in salt water. A lot of these things, we have candles, we have the wine, 2 different kinds for washing hands. I had an issue with generating, yachats for breaking the matzah, so it generated a pretty cool one for me. Let me see if I can find that for a second. That was in Gemini. So here are my things. So Karpas, I went, like, the first one I didn't want the words, I didn't want all these weird shapes here. And this one is not, it's okay, but not great. Like because the parsley leaves themselves are black. I wanted them to be like white, but when I tried to adjust it, it just did something like that. It looks like a tarot card or something. So that's really no good. I'm like, forget it. For now, it's just tiny icons. I was wasting too much time. Yachatz, I kind of like this one, but this doesn't look like a matzah. When I asked for the matzah to be square, it gave me this one, which is okay, but there's no holes on the matzah. So what you saw over there in Time Snapper was me putting dots on the matzah manually for this icon. You see, I was just drawing them on in Adobe Express. This is Magid, and I was going back and forth thinking, okay, what icon should be for that? I was thinking about a megaphone. I was thinking about like a mini, like picture of the Exodus, which came after this, but no, this is not an icon. This is not symbols anymore. This is a really bad graphic design. And at the end of the day, I decided to just stick with the speech bubble because, it's just telling the story. What is more relevant to this than a speech bubble? So yeah, you see, I tried the megaphones and stuff. Matzah, I just went for a sandwich for the korech. No eye for the, this is for the hiding. For hiding of the afikomen. And then the praising, the prayers. I decided music is the best way to represent the Hallel, where we sing the songs, and then a thumbs up at the end. Now I brought in my typography, and I started bringing in all the words, and this took a long time. You see, at first I was like, how am I going to lay this out? What do I have here? I have the text in Hebrew with Nikud. I have a transliteration. I have the meaning in English, and I have the meaning in Chinese. And I started to lay it out, and I said, I just didn't know how to make it all fit on the page. And so I went and I showed it to Claude. And I asked for advice, and what Claude told me to do is to just make it as a grid. So I went ahead and generated a grid that's 5 by 15. So there's 5 icons, text in Hebrew, transliterated text, meaning in English and meaning in Chinese. 5 by 15, which are the 15 steps, right? That's the grid. And I hid it in the bottom, and then I just went one by one and organized them into this grid. And as you can see, this took quite a long time. I also saw that I forgot. I always think motzi and matzah is the same step. I forgot that motzi is is separate. So I added this quick like bread icon for Motzi. And just getting everything in there, making it smaller and kind of organizing. It took a really long time. I decided I'm not going to be too, you know, I'm not going to just worry too much about the final layout yet. I just want to get everything on the page about. So I was kind of satisfied with that. And I printed that one out as well just to see that it's not too small. Let me see if I can find it. So it's okay. It's a good size. If I print full 8.5 by 11, which is what I'm going to do. It's the easiest to print and it's the easiest to share. And at that point, I just took a break for lunch. When I was finally back to work, let's see, went back to work, started a new page. This is a tribute to my mom and to Aaron, my sister-in-law's dad that I mentioned before. I just did not have the capacity to do this. So I left it blank for now. And then we went to the next one, which is the blessings, the lighting of the candles. And I was looking back at some of my texts that I had sketched out, and it felt too formal to me. So here again, I was really not in a writing mood today. I was just full on design. So I left a placeholder in red in Adobe Express to say, bless the occasion, what brought us here, and what makes this holy, the fact that my whole family is gathering together, such a big family from different parts of the world. So this is just a placeholder over here, but then I'm importing the prayers in Chinese with some space holders. I know exactly how to do it. I was reorganizing, thinking about different layouts. What can work? How long is that intro going to be? You see me moving things around. And then I wanted an illustration of a mother and daughter lighting the candles. Now I know this is not super progressive feminist of me, but I find that, at least with my daughter, it just gives a sense of purpose if you have a specific job that you're required to do. And because, let's be real, like Judaism is not a feminist religion by nature. So even though this, like some people see this as a non-progressive thing to say the women are the ones that are supposed to light the candles, I think giving them a specific role where they're supposed to, it's like a responsibility that actually might connect them more specifically. And later, if they question it, then that's totally cool. Like they can question it and I question it, but I'm doing this mostly for my daughter, basically. So I wanted this illustration. I also like this idea of bonding between daughters and mothers, in this thing. But it's funny. I was trying to create a coloring book illustration for the lighting of the candles. And here Gemini was really letting me down, creating really weird looking stuff and putting a menorah, just assuming it's Hanukkah. So it's weird. I tried a few different ways and it was really giving me problems. Like somehow I was breaching the user agreements. And maybe it has to do with Judaism, maybe it has to do with girl. I don't know exactly why, but I spent a good amount of time. I gave up, and then I finally went back to GPT and say, what can GPT do for me? And here, if I'll go back just a few frames, I'm quite happy with this one. And I ended up putting that into my Haggadah in the candle lighting part, which is even the beginning. It's before even the beginning of the official Seder. And I decided to kind of stay with this layout. It's okay. Not amazing, but okay. I even printed it out printed that one out, and then kept going. From there on, we can see here we're around 3 p.m. or so. I started with the actual Seder. Kadesh. See, for now, I left some on the margin, on the top, to tell us where we are, with the little check mark to keep us following along. And I was rewriting. This is one of the only parts that I did some rewriting. Again, to go a little bit less formal than before. So I'm going to pull up my layout for a second, my design. This is my Haggadah right now. And so for Kadesh, it's the spiel about the grapes. I say it's not a Jewish holiday without some, here, see, I'm catching typos, without some blessing on grapes. Tonight we do it 4 times. This is number 1 to get things started. And in Hebrew, the translation that I got from GPT, I found way too formal. And since actually there's going to be more Hebrew speakers than English speakers in my Seder, I really rewrote that in my own language, saying, "Ze lo chag im en kama brachot al hanavim, vayom kiddush kaful arba, az yalla hine asiftach." All right, so that's really, and I can give that to, my brother, for example, to read, which will be fun. But here I gave you a bit of a preview of what the page ended up looking like, but this is also where I started to notice some real problems with formatting Hebrew within Adobe Express. And I went back and forth with my AIs to see what can be done about it. And it's just crazy, but not much. Simply not much can be done about it. The dots, the punctuation, all of that it goes in the back of the words. You can type it backwards and things, but since I'm not really locking down my text yet, I found it really frustrating. And it was really difficult. Like, it just kept telling me, take screenshots. Like, use a program that supports Hebrew formatting, like Microsoft Word or Google Documents, and then take screenshots. And I'm like, that's the best solution you have for me? So far, what I ended up saying for the solution is just give me the Hebrew stuff without punctuation for now, and maybe I'll add it on my own, but I found that really frustrating. What is less frustrating and really cool is how easily I can turn words into coloring books, because I basically use the stroke and the fill options here in Adobe Express, switch them around so the fill is white and the stroke is black, change it a bit around, blow it up, and here we got a beautiful words ready for coloring, and that can start teaching kids some Hebrew characters and writing. So that's really cool. I was moving around. I was playing around with the idea of maybe putting like 4 empty glasses, just like, and one is filled. Then I was running out of space, so I got rid of it. And that's kind of what I ended up with for this layout. And then basically I copied this for Uchatz because it's similar. So I copied the design here for Uchatz, changed things around, as you see. And this was a real heart-stopping moment, because at this point I decided to go back to the Haggadah on Haggadot.com, coloring book Haggadah, over here on Haggadot, and just to see how they laid it out. And I'm realizing that A, this is pretty good, and B, like, why am I doing all this work? Am I just redoing this just not as good over all this time? Now, it's not true, and this is a single language, and it doesn't have everything that I want in there. But, if I were to be honest with myself, when I looked at this here, could I have just taken this and just added like annotations in different languages much faster? Maybe, but you know what? We're in the middle of the process now, and we're going to see how far we can get. That really was kind of a heart-dropping moment of fatigue. Yeah, I kept going back to it, and that actually reminded me to do a page that I forgot, which is a Seder plate, because they had a Seder plate. At first, I just copied it directly, right? They had a Seder plate. Where is it? Here. I just did the screenshot of their Seder plate and put it in there. I'm like, okay, that's great to have a Seder plate at the beginning, and another way to track the Seder itself, how to follow along. But then I said, okay, let me do it a little bit different and a little, maybe a little more fun. So what I came up with here, instead of a coloring book, is I decided to make it a cutout functionality. Okay. So I went to my AI first. I asked it to generate a picture of a Seder plate. I kind of like the elegance of it, but I couldn't really tell what are the different aspects, and I was not in the mood to keep going. So I actually searched one more time within the Express, and I found this element that wasn't, it actually was like a pre-made design that I cropped out. And it's quite elegant over here. So this is the Seder plate. Look at that. Like very iconic, very simple, and I love that. Um, I centered it in the middle of the middle, and then I took out only the the karpas piece of it, put a dotted line around it, so it's cut out, you see? And then I said, okay, every element is gonna have that, and I'm gonna put in the beginning a Seder plate that is completely blank for the kids to fill out. So I'm playing a little bit with the layouts here quickly. Where was it? What was the plate itself? Because I can't hear. Basically, I was able to generate a version of that image of the Seder plate as a blank plate, and that's what they're going to put the cutouts on. So that's where I'm at. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. It's Friday afternoon, soon to be Shabbat. I don't work on Shabbat. We're leaving in less than a week. I have a full-time job. I have a lot of responsibilities and a lot of prep to do before leaving for Europe. I don't know if I'll finish. I don't know if this will be any good. But I have to stay positive, look forward to the rest that this next day is bringing, and embrace the journey. Whether or not it's going to be successful, it's part of the whole thing. So, Shabbat Shalom, everyone.